In our previous session, we have seen what is controller and what is the purpose of controller. We have understood how to make use of controller in our project, in our application, that is grocery store. Now, in this session, let's implement our controller inside our grocery store project. So, inside this controllers folder, right click on it, add new item. Here, you need to select ASP.NET Core and web. Here you can see controller where you can select over this and you can name it as, you can name this controller as grocery controller, and click on add. So an empty controller would be created like this. Here you can see that our controller class, that is grocery controller, inherits from the base controller class which comes from ASP.NET Core. This comes from ASP.NET Core MVC if you observe over here, right? So what next we have to do? We have to create private variables for our repositories inside our controller. So inside our controller, let's create private variables. Read only. This we have to take I grocery repository, and let's provide the name for it as grocery repository. We can provide underscore grocery repository. And similarly, we have to create for another repository, that is I category repository. If you remember, this I grocery repository and I category repository are the interfaces which we had created previously as part of model. Right here you can see I grocery repository and I category repository. Now these two repositories we have registered as part, these repositories as part of service inside our I service collection, if you remember, right? Inside our startup.cs, inside services, if you observe over here iService collection, we have included these repositories, we have registered these repositories. So by making use of these registered repositories inside our controller, what we can do is we can make use of dependency injection system over here. So for that, let's create variables initially like this. Okay, so the variables are created. Here you need to import, just press alt enter. Here you can see using grocery store models. You can import it. That is by using grocery store models. Okay. So what is the next step? Next step is we'll add constructor and inject our repositories as parameters to it with dependency injection system. Okay. So shortcut for creating constructor you can use like this CTOR and click on this button, that is tab button twice. If you press tab button twice by providing CTOR, a constructor will be created using our class name, that is grocery controller. Here, what you need to pass? You need to pass the injected repositories over here. We have to inject the repositories, that is I grocery repository and I category repository. Okay. Next step, what we have to do for this injected repositories, we have to assign these injected repositories for our local variables which we have created, local repositories which we have created. Okay, so to do that, we can use underscore grocery repository will be equal to the injected grocery repository, and similarly underscore category repository will be equal to injected category repository. This is how, using dependency injection system provided by ASP.NET Core, we are injecting these repositories into our controller inside our constructor, right? So what is the next step? Okay, we are done with this constructor injection where repositories we are injecting into this controller. We have created local private variables inside our controller where we can get these injected repositories to assign to the local repositories. This is all done. What is the next step? Next step is the action method. This is very important in case of any controller. Why? Because in this case, the action method which is going to handle the incoming requests in the controller. Whatever incoming requests are coming, It is the action method. What is the action method here in this case? By default, it will be index method. So let's change this to list. Okay. We'll change this to list method. And this list method is going to handle the incoming request which comes into the controller. Okay. So, and the return type for this list is list is view result. Okay, and this will return a view. So what is a view? In our case, the view gets data from the repository, right? So in this case, the list method is return type is view result. Since it returns a view, and this view takes in data from grocery repository to get all groceries to be listed on the web page. So for this view, we have to pass grocery repository, that is underscore grocery repository dot. Here we can access all groceries. That is the use of this action method. This action method, list method, wants to display all the groceries, list of groceries on our web page by returning a view. So as part of this view, we have to pass this grocery underscore grocery repository dot all groceries as data for this view. So this view receives data from here and it displays on our web page. Right. That's it for the controller. This is very simple steps which we have to follow for any controller which we are going to create in our MVC. This is like generic model. We have to create private variables, assign injected repository to these private variables, and create an action method. In this case, the action method which is going to execute is list method. As part of this list method, we are returning view result. That is, we will return a view which will take data from the grocery repository dot all groceries over here. See, this all grocery contains the details of all the groceries which has to be displayed on the web page. Okay, as part of this view. So since this list method is going to return a view, next step what we have to do is model is ready, controller is ready. What is the next step? Next step is we have to create a view which returns all these groceries and displays on our web page. We are returning a view from here, right? So as part of this view, we have to create a new view inside our views folder, and then we will show all the details on our web page as part of this controller. And this controller is responsible for taking the incoming request and it is going to handle it. That is the use of this controller. We have seen what is controller and its purpose in a previous video. If you want to know more about controller, you can watch my previous video and then come over here to implement the controller. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and share this video. And kindly subscribe to my channel in order to watch more videos. Click on that bell icon so that you'll start receiving notifications whenever I'm uploading a new video. And you can find the playlist over here inside my channel. You can see that ASP.NET Core tutorial for beginners. So whatever the video I'm going to upload over here, you can find all the videos over here. Please start from the first video so that each video you will be able to understand in a very clear manner.